we're restoring a gem of a wetland back to what it once was.
Whether it's the diverse ecosystem or its variety of wildlife, the Lakeview Wildlife Management Area is one of the most unique wetlands on Lake Ontario. But according to experts like Andy Heinickel, it's at risk of degradation.
Lakeview Wildlife Management Area already has some very high quality fish and wildlife habitat, and so it's some of the best on Lake Ontario. However, over the past decades, we've seen a decline in the quality of that habitat for both fish and birds due to the increasing presence of invasive species. Non-native cattail and Phragmites have encroached into the marsh. These are plants that will overtake the native vegetation and create clones of just themselves. We call that a monoculture. Once those monocultures become too prevalent, we lose the structural diversity that fish and wildlife need in coastal wetland systems.
That fact led parties from Ducks Unlimited, the New York State DEC, and Audubon Great Lakes to come together to restore this vast ecosystem, ensuring that deterioration doesn't occur.
The need for this restoration work started many years ago when Ducks Unlimited did a small project to channel and create some potholes out here many years ago. And then most recently, the Audubon Society approached the New York State DEC with the same thought in mind. How could we take this already great habitat and make it better for secretive marsh birds, waterfowl, and other species that use this area?
Ducks Unlimited's layout here was a channel and pothole design, and this is largely to incorporate a more open water habitat, understanding that these birds and migratory species as well as northern pike are utilizing this habitat for breeding and spawning opportunities.
By diversifying the structure in the wetland, opening up channels and potholes for these fish to swim up into, we give them access to breed and spawn so that they can move out into the lake. The same holds true for secretive marsh birds. Secretive marsh birds need a condition known as hemi-marsh, which is half marsh, half vegetation. It's where the open water meets the vegetation in a 1-to-1 ratio. The presence of invasive species in too high of an amount creates just vegetation and no structural vegetative diversity.
But this restoration work goes beyond just improving conditions for inhabiting wildlife.
If we didn't do anything, the habitat could potentially continue to decline, which would be a loss of the use of wildlife species that use this area. And a lot of people use this area to bird watch or sightsee or go hunting or fishing.
We need the birds and the wildlife and the fish that utilize these places to be in the best possible condition to survive the oncoming challenge of climate change. I want these birds to be here and these fish to be here for my kids and their kids going forward. This is a huge recreation opportunity for birders, for hunters, for wildlife viewers, for recreationalists, for kayakers of all sorts. So the opportunity to recreate and enjoy places like this is just as important as the ecological diversity being preserved.
Since wrapping construction in March 2024, the ecosystem has seen great improvements, benefiting 150 acres of the wetland, creating new recreational opportunities for people visiting. But despite construction completion, work at the WMA is still ongoing.
We're going to continue to monitor the fish and wildlife species, then that will help us inform future projects. So we know we've done this, we have this design, we could say, hey, this worked, this didn't work, and then put that on the ground in the future on this area, which will benefit the wildlife overall.
Ideally, this is going to benefit waterfowl hunters and recreational opportunity for the diversity here in northern New York. So we're really interested in to see not only waterfowl be using this habitat, but as well as the diversity of other secretive birds. And so it's got a great ecological benefit up here in Lakeview WMA, and we're certainly encouraging new opportunities and opportunities for folks to come out here and take advantage of it.
One of the things that's really important with ecological restoration work is understanding what happens at these sites down the road. We restore the habitat, we enhance the habitat. We need to understand how the wildlife and the vegetation is reacting to that change. One of the ways that people can help us understand that is to come out and listen for the bird species they hear in the marsh. They can record that information in eBird, and then there's a document of that bird being present here, and that helps us understand what's going on the marsh. I can't highlight enough the importance of collaboration on projects like this. This didn't happen because Audubon got a grant, or DEC is managing a site, or DU wanted to restore some waterfowl habitat. This happened because partners came together and discussed what was best for the site ecologically, and came together and made that happen. And no one of us could have done this alone.
In Ellisburg for WPBS Weekly, I'm Luke Smith.